I was browsing the internet when I came across this tweet. It's that time of year again when I remind everyone, in lieu of sex ed in middle school, I was forced to sign a real virginity card that doubled as a Domino's pizza coupon. If you've ever heard the term V-card in relation to virginity, cards like these are where it comes from. Virginity, at its simplest, means you've never done something. At its most complicated, it's a significant voice about our decisions on sex and sexuality.
In the 1990s, a movement in the Christian church arose in response to the sexual revolution gripping the United States. As modern culture began valuing free sex and the open expression of sexuality, the church doubled down on the importance of purity and not engaging in sexual activity until marriage. Just like that, the purity movement was born. On the surface, these are good things. Even though associating purity with virginity is not as commonly taught today, it still haunts our view of sexuality.
What's something you've never done, but always wanted to? For me, I've never ridden a roller coaster. I had ample opportunity when I was younger, but I was always too afraid. Now, I wish I could try one, but I still haven't. What's something like that for you? What's something you've always wanted to do, but never have? Tell the person next to you. When it comes to virginity, it's similar. If someone says they've never had sex, but they have 3 biological kids, they'd be lying, right? If I ride a roller coaster, I can no longer truthfully say I've never been on one.
For a lot of people, this is a big fear when it comes to sex. If I lose my virginity, I can never get it back. This may be true, but if we say that purity and virginity are the same things, then we start using binary language. Have and have not, pass and fail. This is a misunderstanding of the sexual ethics of the Bible. If God desires us to be pure, and purity is conditional on virginity, then we fear to show any sign that could threaten our virginity. If we hold hands, will people talk behind our backs? If we kiss, will they decide something more is happening? Remember, God sees our sexuality as a good thing that He created. But this is often not how we see it.
Dr. Julie Slattery explains it this way. Many who grew up with a purity emphasis translated safe sex or marriage into it's wrong to be sexual. Christian singles naturally experience sexual physical longings as well as the emotional desire to share life with someone. Those are natural aspects of our sexuality. There is great virtue in letting intimacy grow over time in a relationship. And setting physical and emotional boundaries is a healthy part of any relationship. But these boundaries should come out of love, mutual respect, and a desire to honor the image of God stamped on the other person, not out of fear.
Yet much of the language of the purity movement was laced with fear. Fear of the loss of virginity, fear of sexuality, fear at the cost of sexual activity.
What's wrong? Is everything okay?
You were so sweet when you were little, Elizabeth. So innocent. When did you become a liar?
What are you talking about?
Dear Miss Elizabeth Cooper, after careful review of your early action application, the admissions committee regrets to inform you that we are unable to offer you a place at Yale University.
I didn't get in. Wait, you opened my mail?
I thought to myself, how could my Betty get rejected from college? What has her so unfocused that it cost her her future? So I searched your bedroom.
You did what?
And do you know what I found hidden in the false bottom of your nightstand?
Oh my God, Mom.
You should be studying. You should be focused.
Betty's mom speaks into her daughter's sexuality, not with confidence or purpose, but instead fear, going as far as claiming that Betty's sexual activity is the reason she was rejected from college.
Mrs. Burble, do you have a minute?
Yes, Miss Cooper, come on in, please. So, How can I be of help?
This is what's bothering me. Her control complex, her insane overreactions. This is my problem.
No, what her problem is that she's been rejected from college because she's too busy having sex.
Is that what you associate with sexuality, Miss Smith?
Many people remember having a conversation eerily similar to Betty and her mom. Some people never even get a conversation, though. The fear of sex and sexuality can also stop people from ever wanting to address the topic.
When I first met my wife, she knew almost nothing about her sexuality. She hadn't been taught anything about her own desires or how her sexuality would grow and develop inside herself and inside our relationship. The little she had been taught came right before our wedding, when she was told sex would be violent and consistently painful. So her perspective had been warped from the very beginning. Although we were both virgins when we got married, instead of enjoying perfect bliss like the purity movement promises, much of our early intimacy was spent helping her sexuality mature and develop and unlocking a part of her God-given identity.
Dr. Sellers unpacks some of this fallout. Having learned to suffocate and suppress their sexuality over the years of their development, including with the person they love, many young Christians find themselves unable to bring their sexuality into the light when they finally are married. They have trouble seeing it as a good, God-given thing after so many years of shaming themselves for feeling their natural erotic impulses. Many men and women have been taught to approach sexual desire and sexuality, something God placed in us, as shameful.
For women, the purity movement encouraged modesty as a way to combat lust. Essentially, young women became responsible for the ways young men looked at them and responded to them. Instead of encouraging the young men to strive towards self-control and healthier perspectives, the young woman's body was to blame for any lustful behavior. This informed the lie that the female body is inherently shameful. Modesty became not an expression of reserving oneself for intimacy, but a requirement to cover up something shameful and inappropriate. The truth is, the female body was made in the image of God, and it's good because God declared it to be.
For men, the purity narrative taught them their desire was inherently shameful. If they looked at a woman and felt any sexual desire, they were lusting. Jesus is pretty severe on lust, but I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. Pay close attention to what Jesus is actually saying here. He is not condemning desire, but lust. What exactly is the difference, though? Turn to the person next to you and get their opinion.
When Jesus walked the earth, people had different views than our modern times. Often, women and wives were treated like property. And just like other forms of property, another person could come and steal someone else's wife. Now, we don't think about women in this way now, but the point stands. Jesus is actually addressing the act of thievery, the thou shalt not steal section, not sexual desire. In fact, the Greek word for lust here is epithumeo, which is the same word used to translate the 10th commandment, thou shalt not covet, or thou shalt not epithumeo.
In this light, Jesus' response is incredible. He's not only directly addressing mankind's sinful tendencies to take and steal what they desire, but also quietly addressing a common belief that women are objects to be taken and used, bartered and abused. The lust he's addressing here is not a desire to move towards a woman in a way that honors her personhood. He's attacking the tendency to plan to or actually take what is not ours, to reduce another human down to just something to claim or steal. A desire and attraction that has been designed by God has been twisted into something selfish and self-serving. Both
both men and women were taught to associate purity with their virginity. It's important to note, however, that the burden of keeping your virginity, or staying pure as people would say, was primarily placed on young girls. Is staying pure and being a virgin really the same thing, though? Turn to the person next to you and discuss this question. What is the difference between purity and virginity?
Purity is a much bigger concept than virginity, and biblically, purity is what allows people to approach a holy God. The holiness of God is consistently shown as being dangerous towards impure humans. Priests entering into God's holiness would have cords tied around their ankles in case God's holiness killed them. This is where purity comes in.
In the Bible, the solution is that you need to become pure.
So like being morally pure.
Yeah, and that's easy enough to understand. But the Bible spends a lot of time talking about another kind of purity, being ritually pure, which is a state where you separate yourself from anything related to death, like touching things like diseased skin or dead bodies or even certain bodily fluids. All these make you impure.
So in the Old Testament, becoming pure took work. It required performing tasks to cleanse the impurity that had infected you. But further along, we see a new idea in a vision to Isaiah, who, despite being impure, is standing in the presence of a holy God.
Normally, if you touch something impure, it transfers its impurity to you. But now here's this new idea where you have this coal, this very holy and pure object, and it touches Isaiah, and it transfers its purity to him. Isaiah is not destroyed by God's holiness, he's transformed by it.
You see, purity is not something we can achieve on our own. And even if you've never had sex, even if you're a virgin, you are impure in the presence of a holy God. But what if the holiness came to us? What if God reached out and touched us and made us pure?
Instead of becoming pure first and then going into the temple, here God's holiness comes out from the temple, making things pure and bringing them to life. What does it all mean?
So we don't know. Until we meet this man, Jesus. And he claims that he's fulfilling all of these ancient visions, but in surprising new ways. So Jesus, he went around touching people who are impure, people with skin diseases, a woman with chronic bleeding, or dead people. And when he touches them, their impurity should transfer over to Jesus, but instead, Jesus' purity transfers to them and actually heals their bodies.
Jesus is like that holy coal in Isaiah's vision.
Right.
Jesus came to do his Father's will, to seek and save the lost, and to make the impure pure. We cannot earn our own purity, and no matter what we do or do not do, it will not make us pure. It is something that is given to us by a relational God who desired to be close with his creation, the humans to whom he so lovingly gave his image. Sex and sexuality has long been used as a way to invalidate people. But as Dan Allender and Tremper Longman put in their book, God Loves Sex, we also believe that the God of the universe intends to redeem and revolutionize our sexuality so that we might know unfettered pleasure, not only with our spouse, but in relationship with our God.